When I first started out at the Youth Authority, my language was up here from coming out of graduate school. My clients' ability to understand language was down here. There was no communication. I had to learn how to communicate with my clientele. And I learned by drawing little drawings. And I'll tell you something, the worse the drawing, the more effective it is. I had a client say to me, well, Dr. Dobby, why don't you go take an art class? I said, you know what? I don't want to take an art class, and here's why. You will remember this. A, you remember it because it's funky, and it's simple, and if I make it more artistic, it won't have the same impact. And when I draw that funny little United States, you all laughed. It woke you up. Does the same thing with clients. What I had to learn, or what I learned in terms of communicating with the clientele, was to use common articles in uncommon ways. Let me give you an example. You guys are eating Oreos. If I take an Oreo and I hold it up, what do you see other than a cookie? You see dark, light, dark. How do you use that as an analogy to explain a life situation to one of your clients?
Sometimes you're going to have dark moments.
Yeah, that's good.
Into light moments.
That's very good.
They fluctuate again.
What's going to happen is you're going to have light. You may have dark moments. Then you have light moments where you're back on track, and now you have dark moments again. So you need to learn to take common items in uncommon ways. How about habit? You all have habits?
Yes.
Why do you have habits?
Because we won't break them.
Because what?
Because we can't break them.
Because you can't break them, yeah? Your clients are going to have habits too. In most cases, they're going to be bad habits that are going to take them in the wrong direction. Why do we have habits? And you may have to explain this to your client who says, you know, Dr. Dobby, I don't know, but I keep doing the same thing over and over again. Well, doing the same thing over and over again is a habit. We have habits, by the way, in case you didn't know, because they help us survive as a species. We don't have instincts. And when I talk about feelings, I'm going to cover similar information. We don't have instincts as animals. My dog has instincts. She doesn't think as much as I think she should. But a lot of it's instinct. She doesn't have to think about what she's doing. It's built in. We don't have that. But we have habits. We do something over and over and over again, and then it becomes automated. Those of you that have hair, unlike me, have you ever had this experience? You get in the shower, and you go through your routine, and you can't remember whether you put shampoo on or not.
Yes.
It's like you weren't even there. Yeah? Exactly. That's habit. Now, obviously, you put shampoo on, I would assume, right? But you did it automatically. Habits enable us to automate behavior so we don't have to think about it, and we can take that energy and put it somewhere else. The problem with habits is once we get into that habit, it goes automatically, we don't think about it, and we keep getting the same result. And your clients do the same thing. So how do you break a habit? Do you know it takes 28 days to change a habit? And do you know why? It takes 28 days, you've heard it. It takes 28 days to change a habit because it takes that long to form new protein chains in your brain. What's happening in effect is this. You form neural networks, that's connections between neurons in your brain. It's electrical and electrochemical, excuse me, that causes you to be able to think. So you get this pathway, and the more you use that neural pathway, the stronger it becomes. So when you have a habit, those electrical signals go from neuron to neuron in a habit. It's got by protein chains, and it just does so you don't have to think about it. So you break a habit by forcing yourself to do something differently. So how do you illustrate that to a client? There's a number of ways. How many of you are right-handed? Have you ever tried to write with your left hand?
Yes.
Okay. If you have to write with your left hand, as I did, I dislocated my shoulder a few years back, trying to be a roller skating hero to my kids. Didn't work. Had to learn to write with my left hand. When I started out, you couldn't read my notes. By the time I was done and my right arm had healed, I could write legibly. You could read. It wasn't as good as my right, but it was good enough. Here's another way. All of you have pants on today. When you put your pants on, which leg did you put in first?
Right.
Right. Okay. You explain this to your client. When? What's that? Some of you don't know. That's habit. You explain to your client. You say, you know what? We all have habits. In your particular case, you have habits that get you in trouble. You continue to do things that get you in trouble so you get the wrong results. Because you're telling me you want to get out of here and stay out of here, and yet you keep getting in trouble. That's a habit. Habit is overlearned behavior. Here's how you learn to change that. What leg do you put into your pants first? Well, I don't know, Dr. Dobby, my right, my left, whatever it is. When you go back to your room tonight and you change pants, put your left leg in. And here's what's going to happen, and you guys can do the same thing. Put your left leg in. When you do that, every bone in your body is going to tell you, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. Why am I trying to do this? This is absolutely wrong. If God had wanted me to put my left leg in first, He would have had me do that. Well, He, she, it. Depending on your belief system. But what's going to happen is, stay with your left leg. Now, if you put your right leg in, as you will, because you'll fall back to the old habit, take the right leg out, put the left leg in. In time, what's going to happen is the left leg is going to become more comfortable. And then eventually, it won't matter which leg you put in. That's an analogy for changing a habit. It's something physical that your clients can do, that you can do, and you're doing the same thing in psychotherapy. Because what we're doing in psychotherapy is we're changing habits. We may be changing thinking habits, but you've got to stay with it. Because the first couple of times you attempt to do that, you're going to be off target because it's not going to feel right and it's not going to work. So I'm inoculating you and your clients to the fact that when they try and do some of this stuff, it's not going to work. So they don't come back and say to me, Dr. Dobby, it didn't work. Well, of course it didn't work. That's what I told you. It's going to take time. Does that make sense? Okay. So when you are going through your daily activities, think of examples that you have lived that you can